Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Business, and it's time to cover one of the most controversial things that I've seen in this game so far. In the 7,000 plus battles and 2.5 years of playing it, which, now that I put it out there, wow, that really seems like a long time. Um, the Tier 10 Royal Navy battleship, the Conqueror. And these are initial impressions because it's not an overview because I just don't see how this ship is going to stay the same. So I want to keep an overview relevant, and I'm gonna wait like probably 6 months before I cover anything to do with these ships as far as an overview is concerned. But what I do want to do is go through each of these tiers and show you the HE damage maximum, fire chance, and the shell penetration from each of these tiers, each of the ships in these tiers. And this will give you an idea, I think, and maybe seeing it in front of you this way may help you try to understand how they, as wargaming developers, are trying to balance this. And some of this makes sense. Like seeing it on paper, like having written all the stuff out, it makes sense. But the execution, the way it's actually functional in the game, is a severe problem. And I honestly think this is their attempt to deal with the bow forward meta at any given tier. So you have high shell penetration because both this line and the German line have 1/4 HE shell pen. So you divide the gun caliber by 4, and that's the amount of shell penetration you have. The other nations have to divide it by 6, so they have less. This makes them far more effective against bow forward targets, but the difference between the German and the Royal Navy is that the Germans are on the very low end, typically, for the HE damage and the fire chance. And the Royal Navy is on the very top end, and sometimes by a pretty significant amount. And some of these skins, starting with the King George here, will be made by Tans, so check the forums and you can find those and get those installed. They look so damn good. But especially the Monarch. It's probably my favorite aesthetically speaking. But to me, it feels like this shit's gone out of control. You know, I really think that with this change in place, the potential of the upcoming smoke changes, and the deep water torps that are, I guess they're actually going to be put in the game. I mean, they already are in the game because they're in testing, but obviously because they're not in the game yet, it's not final for the Pan Asian line. But I feel like this is all a way to dissuade people from playing battleships and playing them the way that wargaming themselves has set it up to be played as. You have shit armor mechanics, so you have to go bow forward. Now you're getting punished by playing the game in the manner that the armor mechanics dictate. Now you can't pull into the smoke as a battleship and fire because you're going to get spotted from 14, 15 kilometers away or whatever the hell. If you get hit by one of those deep water torps, there goes a third of your life, maybe. I'm not entirely sure, but from the stuff I hear about with like a Zao going down to sorry, my voice is a little shitty, going down to a third of it HP from a deep water torp, and a Moskva going down to half health from a single torp. That is crazy. Crazy. So taking a look at the armor scheme though, that belt right there, that lower belt that's 279 millimeters, that's where you need to hit for the Citadel. The thing is, look at how much this overhangs, though. This is pretty significant. I mean, this Citadel is fully underwater, and I don't think that's really how it should have been done. With the heal that these have, I mean, they take a ton of damage up top. They really do, but I think this is a whole combination of things that's just way, way, way too much. But you're not going to Citadel this thing up close. I think within like 9 kilometers or something, the only way you can citadel them is if they are pretty much turning, like hardcore turning in and exposing that underbelly where that 279 millimeter strip of armor is, because that is literally exactly where the citadel is. Now, taking a look at the turret armor, by far the worst turrets at tier 10 for battleships. It is insane. Of course, it still has 32 millimeters of deck armor and 19 for the superstructure. But if we take a look at the other ships here at tier 10, they all have much better armor. This ship, the Conqueror, that is, will definitely lose turrets frequently. At the very least, you will have them disabled. But I think, as I said before, as people start to get used to dealing with these ships and seeing more of them, I think people are going to start aiming for the turrets a lot more frequently because they're so easy to disable. And I have lost in a few of my Conqueror matches. I probably like 3 or 4 times now I've had at least one turret destroyed, and I've had like almost every single game I go through at least a couple of instances where my turrets are disabled from any range, and that's pretty significant, of course. But the other part too is if you can catch the backside of the turrets, oh man, there's only like 180 millimeters of armor there, and then the backside of the ship too, pretty interesting here. It's a bit of a reach to get to the citadel. I mean, that's a fair amount of boat to pass through, but if you take a look at the backside here, it's perfectly flat. So if one of them is running away and turning away, and you can get those, full salvo into that flat spot there, you should be able to get some work done. And as far as the complaints about AP from battleships is concerned, how are these people dealing with the HE from this ship? Because, my god, this is absolutely ridiculous. So again, remember, as far as the mechanics are concerned, if you get a shell pen, whether it's HE or AP, it's 33% of the max damage for that shell type. So, and I think this particular salvo here is exactly why so many people are up in arms about this ship. And this is only something I've been able to do twice in the 40 plus games I've played of the Conqueror. Yeah, and he just repaired, and I'm so sorry, Starship. That was such a shitty salvo to take, but I mean, it was big damage and it was a triple fire. That was only actually about a 15-second difference between the last clip and this current one, and that's how fast the damage racks up when you got a triple fire. So, if the dispersion rolls well for you, the HE is absolutely devastating to any ship. I mean, that's a huge salvo for, against the destroyer. And again, that's the thing that confuses me. Why do people want that? If battleships are going to be rolling HE all the time against destroyers as opposed to AP, I mean, really, what's the difference? If they're going to get good dispersion on you, you're going to lose at least half your health. And that's, again, one of those things that doesn't really make much sense to me that people complain about it. But on this ship, the HE is so goddamn overdone. It has it's about 1,000 damage more than the max of the Yamato, and those are 18.1 inch shells. And you throw that on top of the shell pen, you throw that on top of, I typically, actually I mostly run the 419 millimeters. I really don't like the 457 millimeter turret option on this, because with that you have 8 shells, and while you have a 63% chance of fire, which, who thought that was a good idea, as opposed to 48, that's such a huge drop off. You have a 48% chance of fire from 12 shells that are 419 millimeters. I mean, yeah, I think I'll take that. And I don't really see the advantage of the 457s. The dispersion isn't noticeably better at all. I am running throughout all of these matches here the dispersion, the accuracy module for the Conqueror, so that's worth mentioning. But you know, it's really accurate for the most part. It's pretty damn solid, regardless of what turret option you use. It has ridiculously high shell pen. It has ridiculously high fire chance. It has the highest HE maximum damage available, and yeah, I mean, what's the downside to this, really? And I'm not sure if this is also sort of a response to the fact that, you know, less skilled players obviously over time have started to filter their way up into tier 10. And I mean, we've seen this shit for well over a year now. It doesn't take much to get to tier 10. On my alternate account, I should be able to get to the Kerr first in less than 250 games of just the German battleships. I mean, it's not that difficult, and that's without the triple XP events and you know, the huge special camos and things like that. It's not that hard. All you have to do is either A, do really well, or B, put the time in. I mean, either way, it's just a matter of time. That's all. And I'm not sure if this is kind of something that's meant to be, you know, as a line as a whole, if it's meant as kind of a way for people to get adjusted to the game and then find the deeper points of the game. But in doing that, they also take away from those more intricate mechanics. And I really think that this entire line is a giant step back for the progress of the game. And we've been dealing with these gimmicks for a while now. And you know, the US Navy had its flavor, and the Japanese Navy sort of had its flavor. Then they started introducing other lines. They started to try to spice the game up, and on a smaller scale it worked. But now that we have more and more lines in the game and coming to the game, what we're looking at here is gimmicks countering other gimmicks, and ships trying, like, they're trying to make ships so unique that they're all niche, and it just doesn't make it any fun to play. I'd rather have these ships be too similar to each other than so wildly different that, you know, I mean, what the hell can you do as a Yamato now against, like, when you have to stay bow forward because your side armor is complete shit, when you've got a Conqueror shooting at you, and there's, you know, say a Montana as well. So obviously if you go broadside, Montana's going to nuke you with AP, but if you stay there, you're going to get shit on by the destroyers that are sending, you know, walls of deep water torps at you. Where's the fun in that? I don't understand it. And by the way, I was expecting this guy to go broadside, to pull to his right. I didn't realize that North Carolina hadn't really pushed up to force him to do that. And then also the other huge weakness of this line, sorry, this is loud, Jesus Christ, every single patch they just screw with these sounds and make them so excessive. But the torp belt is really bad on these, so worth mentioning. I've definitely died to these ships quite a bit, or sorry, to torps quite a bit with this line. But and actually, real quick, if you want to know how to kill this ship especially, focus fire. Not that hard. There's a clip that I'll be showing you guys probably in the next Ships and Giggles where Jash, Venom, and I are all in Kerr first in the division, and it's on this map Trap. And the opening salvo, we took, well, Jash and I, you know, got 3 sits and the number of pens on an enemy Conqueror and took him down to like 19,000 health at the start of the match at range. And if you hit him at range when they're broadside, you're probably, as a tier 10 battleship, going to really do some damage to it. So, you know, the ship takes, damn, that was good. The ship takes a ton of damage into that deck. It takes a massive amount of damage. I've been hit for, what, 16, 17, 18k by enemy Montanans with HE, who then switched over to AP and hit me for another 12k while I was burning. That really sucked. Granted, I was doing 10 to 15k right back to him with HE, but then failing miserably with the AP. But not on this salvo though. When you get close enough, that short fuse AP is nasty against battleships, especially the German ones. But as far as killing the ship, it has massive mid-range DPS for anti-air. You're not really going to see too much of an effect here because I didn't spot those planes coming in until way too late. But up to 659 DPS, that's without AFT or BFT. But these mounts, they die so fast that and that's with preventive maintenance and auxiliary modification, mod 1, they die so fast that within a few salvos of HE or focus fire, the ship should lose about half of its AA DPS. Immediately that opens it up for air attack. And, yeah, it has some pretty good stuff as far as the heal is concerned and concealment. Outside of that, this ship honestly has zero utility. It has no way to defend itself against a situation where there's a destroyer coming after it. And if it doesn't have support, it's done. And maybe that's the only thing that's really beneficial about this line, is that you should be able to recognize a lot more clearly when facing a Conqueror that if you take out the ships that support it, it's going to die very, very quickly. If if you're working together, even if it's something as, most of the time, what people think is teamwork is actually just players playing for themselves. But because, they're essentially achieving a common goal together, it works out as teamwork. Yay! But, I think that if there's anything that's beneficial about the line, maybe it's that. That people will figure out that battleships are incredibly vulnerable when they have no legs to stand on, as far as, destroyer or cruiser support. Maybe that's the best thing that we can look at here, the silver lining. But, I try to approach these videos and my thoughts with logic, rationale, and all that, and a lot of other YouTubers, a lot of other streamers do exactly the same thing, and I think collectively as a community we do a pretty damn good job of it. But I don't think anybody can justify this line at all. It's a mistake. Openly, it's a mistake. I want to see this game succeed like everybody else. But, the grandeur of naval combat, the weight of it, they do a damn good job of capturing that, right? But the actual gameplay itself is becoming so much worse with the dumbing down of mechanics. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of mechanics at play with the Royal Navy battleships, but you don't have to worry about them. You just have to hit one. You have to load the HE. How is that going to resolve any of the issues with the bullshit Balfour camping meta? How is that going to create initiative for people to move? And not only that, how is, to just further compound the issue, how are the smoke changes and deep water torps going to make battleships move? Because frankly, that is the biggest problem in this game. Without battleships moving, the gameplay is stale. And we need something to change. And to me, it's the armor mechanics and just the overall way of how damage is inflicted is crippling in terms of how people risk themselves and their ships. But I'm sure this is going to generate a lot of interesting topics and discussion down below, but I look forward to reading it and discussing it on stream with you guys. But thank you for watching today. Have a good one and take care. I'll see you next time.